Hello and welcome. You found me. We've had a bit of a month off, didn't we, because of two dudes spring, but the Woolpatch show live April now. Where has the time gone? Are you comfy? You sat there ready? You've got your knitting? Are you doing a bit of embroidery or something, or are you just watching? Let Fizz know in the comments. Seeing so many people there already. It's Stuart here, if you didn't know, from the Woolpatch, a yarn fabric haberdashery shop in Long Melford, Suffolk, UK, coming to you live. And if you are watching on YouTube and you're commenting in the chat, then you will know producer Fizz. Who is there, and if you see below, look at that, producer Fizz, and she's got a W next to her name too, as some do others. If you scroll through the chat, you'll see a W appearing. That's because they are now members. They have joined the Woolpatch on YouTube. More about that coming later. But Fizz will keep you sorted. She'll keep the time check going in the chat. She'll be dropping links too. So if you see anything you like at any point, you can guarantee producer Fizz has got a link for it and she'll be dropping it in. But it's not all about people who are chatting away in the comments. It's about you watching. And you could be watching live from your settee, your chair. You could be in your car on a lunch break, wherever you are in the world. You could be anywhere. And so we try and deliver the show to you too, as well as looking at people who are in the chat. I can see some familiar faces in the chat too. And I'm sure Fizz will keep you going. And we'll get some of those on screen as we go. It's kind of a bit like a radio show. You know when they have the text and they read the text out? Well, it's a bit like that too. Lots coming up for you today. Jam-packed, especially the gallery. Let's take a quick look at the running order. You know the schedule by now. We always have Guess the Year at 1:15 and the gallery at 1:30. But let's see what's coming up. We've got Maxtheknitter Moonbumps shawl. Have you seen it popping up on Ravelry? Let us know in the chat if you have. Is it already in your, what do they call it on Ravelry? Oh, Sue will let me know because she's an expert. Oh, it's the queue, isn't it? Is it already in your queue? So we're going to be showing you that shortly. Then, yes, 8:20 after Guess the Year, my trip to H+H Cologne. A phenomenal trade show in yarn and fabric. The biggest trade show for all things creative in Europe. Been wanting to go for some time, and the friends over at Yarnworks down at Hadley, who actually, I don't think they're watching tonight because they're moving. They're moving from the outskirts of Hadley into a lovely shop slap bang in the middle of the town. So they're probably packing boxes, but I went with them and we had a great time, and some friends too from Florida had a great time. So it's only 3 days, but it felt like a couple of weeks off. So then we have the gallery at 8:30 into the competition winners from the Tube Dude Spring that we did. That competition, the thing about spring. So we'll announce it. It could be you. We'll release 2 names for that. Then we've got, yes, the top 10. Have you been following the top 10? Each week, Fizz and I produce the top 10 most hot right now patterns on Ravelry for knitting and crochet. We've done it now. Yes, literally an hour before the show, we went onto Ravelry and looked at the top 10 and packaged it all ready for you. And then after that, 8:45 to finish, super quick bunting. Literally. You will make this bunting in no time, all from a square. If you don't know, then this will be a tutorial for you, all from a square, and any size square too. So there we are, that's the running order. First, as always, we kick off with a show starter. If you're familiar with the Woolpatch, you know what I mean by that, but if not, every show starts with something made, whether that's me making it, knitting it, or sewing it, or whether that's friends of the Woolpatch. It could be Irene, it could be Mandy, it could be Colin. And this time, can you see it there? Hanging up, yes. As we've already said, it's the Moonbumps by Maxtheknitter, and take a look at what I got up to earlier today.
Moon, I'm there soon. I'm leaving quite early tomorrow morning. Undercovered, baby, is what you ask of me. Soon I'll be disguised. Shooting star, I'm without a safety net. Give me a ride. I'm going far beyond where the sun sets. Dear, I'm no longer scared. Your glow brings me comfort. I'm filled with light. Tiptoe, dance with me through the shadow play. Moon, I'm on my way. Shooting star, I'm without a safety net. Give me a ride. I'm going far beyond where the sun sets. Shooting star, I'm without a safety net. Give me a ride. I'm going far beyond where the sun sets.
Oh, I should have said get your tissues. When I chose that music, it brought a lump to my throat, but how beautiful was that? I thought it was just fitting for a wonderful spring warm day and to show off that pattern and the colours. So let's get it down for you. Right, I've just got to unplug. Oh, I need to show you my t-shirt as well. Look. The good, the bad, the woolly. Shout out to James all the way from New Zealand. This came through the post and I had no idea. Well, he gave me a little, he sort of said, oh, you've got something in the post coming. I had no idea at all. And when I opened it up, can you believe it? If you're thinking, like, why is it so special? Let me take you back to this, which was in the Tube Spring edition. So last month, I happened to show off this amazing thing from Colin. Have a look. Yes, Colin had made that and we showed it off, and it was from The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. Colin had made it. He literally copied it from the pictures, and obviously James, well, he just saw this and it was just meant to be, wasn't it? So thank you, James. I thought, perfect. I can't wait to weigh that today. Right, let's go and get the shawl. Right, let me just plug myself back in again. Okay, so here it is. And as well, blocked. Properly blocked. Isn't it fabulous? And of course, I can see... Yes, Susan, absolutely. Or let's just move that there. The colours of spring. And I think I saw also Susan. Tassels rock. Absolutely. Though that was the first time doing tassels, but the beauty of this pattern, it does give a link to a tutorial too. So let's move on to the whole Moonbumps. And let's just do that. There we go. So this is from Max's Instagram and from the patterns in the pictures in the pattern too. But that one there is the Instagram look. And let's show you this one too. There, look at that. So that's how he had done it. And I'm going to explain more about him. Obviously, it's a paid pattern, and you should go and buy the pattern if it interests you, and the money goes to the designer. So I'm not going to show you all the pattern, but what I can show you is that's what it looks like on the front, and I can show you the measurements, and we can talk about that for a little while too. Max had done it with 2 yarns. You can see there a DK yarn, which is the solid colour, and then you've got the sport, the second yarn, yarn B, which is the I cords. But let me go to this here. But for our one, we obviously wanted to use yarn in the shop because we didn't have the yarn he suggested there. And also, sometimes patterns can be difficult with choices of yarn, so we wanted to make it as easy as possible. And when I saw DK there, I just thought, right, well, let's just use a DK. There's no point using 2 strands like it says there. If you're using, I have no idea what that is. I want to go foie. Hold 2 to achieve a DK. But obviously, we just went for a DK. So we used good old West Yorkshire Spinners Colour Lab. Give us a shout in the chat if you've used Colour Lab. If you're sat at home watching, have you used West Yorkshire Spinners Colour Lab? West Yorkshire Spinners are a great brand anyway, but Colour Lab is a kind of a recent double knit from them in big, bright, bold colours. So because it was spring, I said, well, it's got to be green, hasn't it? So there's the green, and it's the new green they've just released, the Shamrock green. And I just thought, well, if it's the variegated yarn, I'm not going to go around with trying to find a thinner one. I'll just do it the same, and we'll see what happens. Because Max does say there, you ideally want to use a thinner yarn for the I-cords to stop it puckering. And yes, when Irene had knitted it, big shout out to Irene, it didn't pucker, but it was curling on both sides. But the block turned it out brilliantly. Now there is no curling at all, and it's just beautifully soft, beautifully flowy, and also, everyone, Colour Lab is a classic double knit. You would do it on 4mm needles, but we kept with what Max said on his, doing it 3.75, got perfect gauge. Absolutely no problems. So do recommend, if you are going to buy this pattern and do it with Colour Lab, 375 is fine. It will block beautifully. And look at that. So our second yarn, which is the I-cord stripes, look at that, is all done with the variegated, and we use Technicolor. It is the most popular one in that whole line. It's more often than not sold out, the Technicolor one is. And that's also quite sporting, coming into Pride season and all that. You know, that is the rainbow there, isn't it? But just look at the drape of that. You would think going to a little bit of a tighter needle that it would be a more dense fabric, but no, it is wonderful. So now what I'm thinking with the range of Colour Lab, if Fizz has dropped the link in there, I'm sure you can go and see the range of Colour Lab on my website. But if not, you can just Google it and find it. There are so many different colour variations because they have so many solid colours, of not so many where you've got like 4 reds and 4 greens and 4 blues and you can't choose, but of bright, beautiful, solid colours. So you've got your red, you've got your blue, you've got your aqua, you've got your teal. But they've got some wonderful Technicolor variegated ones to use. Like there's a lovely purple and pale blue one. So I'm thinking there could be many colour options with Colour Lab, using a solid colour, and then for your I-cord, just using the variegated options. So like, I'm thinking already, well, what about a white or a grey with the purple variegated one? I think they call it Purple Rain. I would love to see your versions if you do knit it. Max does have a hashtag which you could use, but otherwise, you know the usual drill. When you post a picture of something you've made, knitted or sewn, just tag the Woolpatch, hashtag the Woolpatch, because it's lovely to see it, and then we curate them and put them into the gallery too. But let us know if you do, because it's just a wonderful shawl. Now, I gave this to the ladies all week, and they were saying it's lovely because it's not a huge Stephen West one, which can sometimes, let's be honest, be overwhelming, and it feels like you can never finish it, even though it's exciting to knit. This is enough there of new stuff, of creativity to keep you interested, but it's not too big, so you get it finished quite quickly. And also, it doesn't make you too hot because there isn't too much of it. I'm not a wrap person, but the ladies all loved it. Just enough, you know, if you're wearing a t-shirt out or a blouse, just to put that around your neck to stop the chill going down. So it is a great one. Thank you, Irene, for knitting that. She loved it as well. At first, she said the I-cords were a bit challenging because those stripes are I-cords. So there's a lot of, you know, 3 and sliding it along, put the stitches back, 3 and 4. But isn't the effect great? Oh, one thing, if you do this version, the Technicolor has the same green in it. So she just cut that out because you obviously don't want a green on a green. But look at that. Stunning. There we are. So Maxtheknitter Moonbumps, right, 8:15. You ready for it? Guess the year. So if you haven't seen this feature, I'm going to show you a pattern or something made, and then you've got to guess the year for it. And when we come back, you've got a minute to shout out if you're at home watching, or if you're in the comments here, go on, type them in of what year you think it is, and we've got a minute to see who can get it right. It's quite a topical one, this Guess the Year this week because of what happened, and I'm sure you'll know as soon as I go to it. So here we go. Here's Guess the Year. Yes, it's the mini skirt, Mary Quant. I know some of you are going to be going, I wore one of those. Yeah, she sadly passed away this week. And I thought, well, we've got to have her on for Guess the Year. And the picture you see there is when she was at Buckingham Palace receiving her award. And that was the dress she designed. And it's in the V&A, the coloured picture there on the left. That is the one that's in the V&A. So in the comments now, you've got a minute to guess the year of when she was wearing that and designed that, but it's at Buckingham Palace there. Here we go. You've got a minute to write it down in the chat or shout it out at home. Here we go. See what you put. You're shouting at home? One, can't hear you. Get typing in the comments. And also let us know if you had a miniskirt too. 1966 from Susan. 1968 from Carol. Holly, is that 1970? Yeah. 1965. Hey Lewis, 68, 1968. 67. 66. And a W there too. as well as Susan. James 1969, Margaret 1966. Any more before we finish? And who had one? Do you know the story about Mary Quant? It's fascinating. You could find a lot on the V&A, but let's go for the year. Judah says 1965. The year is 1966. We all know it for the World Cup, don't we? So who got it? I'm just looking through there. Margaret, 1966. Well done. Round of applause. So many of you so close. 67, 68 or 65. Susan, 1966. So great. Visit with Nana and Papa, 1966. Absolutely well done. If you got it right, pat on the back. High five. If you didn't, don't worry. Better luck next time. But yes, if you want to know more about Mary Quant and what she did, I've got some notes here about how much she popularized super high hemlines and the fact of just how what she was a designer, the influence she had, and perhaps how the swinging 60s came about because of her. And that influence of her being not only designer but a retailer and getting it out there to the mass market. From what I was listening to on the news too, about how much she influenced, because she didn't want to wear what she said was what her parents were wearing, so it was something new, colourful and wonderful. So yes, sad loss with that one there. If you want to find more about it, I say the V&A has a wonderful article. And Fizz, as always, she's put that link in there. So obviously don't do it now. But if you want to go and read about some fascinating photos in there and some of her designs too. Right, so let's talk about Germany. Yes. I haven't been to Germany for years. I went there on a school trip with the drama department and we toured with Taming of the Shrew. That was great fun, but I didn't really see much of it. But I wanted to go to this trade show because, as I say, they say it's Europe's biggest, most leading and innovative with regard to craft. Mostly yarn and mostly fabric, but there are other crafts there too. There were, like stationary card punching with all those card kits or those card machines like the Cricut and things like that. Embroidery, sewing, those jewels where you can paint diamond dots or something. It's phenomenal. Well, it's huge, absolutely massive. There must have been over 200 companies there promoting their products. And from a European point of view, all the European yarn shops and fabric shops go there to choose their autumn and winter yarns. They literally, because it's not just like a display of the company's yarns or the company's fabrics. They'll have space for loads of tables for you to sit at, look through the collection and go, yeah, I'll have 10 of those. I'll have 5 of those and so forth. So it was going to be really interesting from my point of view to see these companies and maybe find some new companies too. And also importantly for me, it was a bit of a kind of what could we say? A moment of whether I was going to develop fabric in the shop or to stop it. Been having these thoughts for the last 6 months, looking at yarn sales compared to fabric sales, so it was going to be my trigger really. I'm going to go, am I going to keep with fabric or am I going to stop it? Is it going to inspire me? Am I going to find something different to do or not? So that was one of the other reasons for going, as well as having a little holiday. But I've put this little montage for you of my time in Cologne. It is amazing. You'll be amazed and you'll get a taste of how big it is. quite amazing what is on offer from huge companies like Knitpro, Juki, Benina to small companies I've never heard of. Struggling to find some companies to ship to Britain, which we knew ever since Brexit that was going to be hard, and some just don't do that. But it's nice having a chat to the smaller companies, the ones you've never heard of, and see what they can do. So I've just had a lovely chat with Benoit of Fonty, delightful little yarn company in France. And it's basically him and like one or two others. They dye in the wool first and then spin it. So very much like what they were doing in Lavenham in the 16th century, which is where the term dyed in the wool comes from. They were dyeing it first and then spinning it. So it kind of resonates with the work that I do with my hand dyeing, but there was one yarn in particular that's lovely, and it's called tartan, and it's done with dyeing in the wool and then mixing it with white and then spinning it again and again and again, so you get 3 different shades. Phenomenal. I think I'll tell you more when I'm back home, but it was lovely having a chat with him, a sit down chat, and then seeing his yarn. So take a look, Fonty. All right, I'm back down, nearly finished. It's coming up to 4 o'clock, and my legs are frazzled, but it has been wonderful. So that's a bonus to have that little chat with him. Amazing, hey? Huge. Just think like NEC on 3 floors. So much yarn, so much fabric. In places a little overwhelming, hence why it's over 3 days. So you can go back the next day, and after sleeping on it, go back the next day after making notes. And that's exactly what I did, and just took my time with it. But overwhelmed with it all. It was phenomenal. On the Benina stand, Kay Fassett was there. He'd done a talk and a demo and a one-to-one meet and greet. I saw Arnie and Carlos there too, just literally walking around. So it was a case of who's who as well there. But it, so much inspiration, as you could see there. All the companies had garments, and not just 1 or 2 garments, loads of them. So let's just go through what I've put here on this next slide. Some trends. Did you see from that little footage, could you take any trends out of that? Just put down in the chat if you think you could see any trends. But there were definite trends that are still going to carry on in the yarn and fabric world. I would say certainly for the next year, for the next autumn and winter into spring, summer next year. And I could see that everywhere I went. And I think you probably could get them from that video there, because you just couldn't miss it. One of them, from the yarn point of view, was boucle. If you don't know what boucle is, it's a French term for, I think it's loops. So it's like the yarn, just think of it like lots of little circles where it curls on itself, so it makes it wonderfully airy, trapping the air in and warm. especially if it's layered up. But boucle yarns I was seeing here, there and everywhere. Yes, Susan, very much so. Vibrant colours featuring pink. Hot pink for sure, and lime green. So yes, neon colours still. Now, I've still got some pom-poms in neon colours. I haven't necessarily seen yarn coming through from British manufacturers, but it was definitely there, just bright colours. So we'll see that coming through more for sure. And you can probably guess it's just not going out at all. Mohair. There is mohair everywhere. That rhymes. Are you a lover of mohair? I'm just going to... Can I do a poll quickly? How do I do that? I can do... Yes, start a question. Do you like mohair? That's for start... Oh, no, that's not a Q&A. We want a poll. There we go. Do you like mohair? And you can pop that yes or no in the chat. What do you think at home? So there are many different types of mohair. You can get mohair with silk. Rowan, for example, Kid Silk Haze, where you're retailing at 12, 13, 14 pounds a 25-gram ball. You can get mohair floof or fluff from indie dyers, which will be 21, 22, 23 pounds a hank. Or you can get more commercial mohair that has mohair but no silk with it, and it might have a polyamide or an acrylic with it, which is what I've got from Katia, which then makes it like £5 a ball. So there are numerous price points, but it's whether you like that feeling, because it can kind of be a bit itchy, can't it? So it'll be interesting to see how we go with the vote with mohair. Fabric trends, I saw it everywhere. Jersey, I could have had a whole shop of jerseys, some stunning jerseys. Beautiful design, especially for kids' prints if you were making clothes. Long armors, the machinery on Benina stand, on Jukies. The computerized stuff that you get was phenomenal. And fabric pastel colours. But I think one thing that I saw from my time at Cologne was this organic, whether it's cottons and yarns or whether it's organic material, this remade, recycled. Every brand had their own recycled yarn. And how they were recycling it, there are so many different methods. Some of the companies are taking back jumpers that have been worn and ripping them up and making yarn from them. Some are just getting waste and redoing it. There are so many ways. I won't bore you with it now, but which is good to see. But I don't know how soft that will be and how it will feel on the skin. So that will be something to look out for the year ahead for sure. But Fonte, yes, a delightful little brand. There were some big brands there, but there was something about Fonte that I really liked. And I got a little sample kit. Look at that. And let me show you the tartan. If it's like that. I don't know whether, because it's French, I don't know whether it's tartan. Do you say it like that? Where is it here? Look at that. Dear little balls. Look, look at that. For special customers. And there we go. Look, that's the mohair. So they've got a mohair. You see? That's 75% kid mohair, 20% wool, and 5% polyamide. See, so spinners are going to be trying to get that blend to be a reasonable price point too. But this is the tartan that I was saying to you about. Can you see the white in there? Can I refocus that? So it was this idea where there are so many different shades of the one colour because they spin it more with white. But the most important thing that resonated with me is they dyed in the wool first. So he's a spinner there, Benoit. They get the yarn, they get the fleece, sorry, but they're dyeing the fleece first, then cutting it and spinning it to their end result. And that's what they were doing in Lavenham first of all. They were getting the fleece, dyeing it woad, and then spinning it, carding it, weaving it, and so forth. So I think when there are so many companies and you have to make a choice as a retailer, how do you do that? And I suppose the only way you make a choice is what resonates with you and your ethos and your outlook. And when I heard about that way of doing it, because not everyone does it like that. In fact, hardly any, I think, do that. This idea that he's a little spinning mill, and look at that, delightful. You just feel that French, the French countryside. That was it, La Campagna? Is that how you say? Oh no, that's Italian, isn't it? And I just fell in love. So Fonty is coming to the UK, all being well with shipping and everything because of Brexit, but it will be coming here, and I can't wait. And particular that one, which is, so tartan is, it's 100% superwash merino. So it's going to be wonderful. So yes, a wonderful, wonderful time. My answer about fabric is probably going to go. We will talk about that in more detail as the year progresses. It won't go till Christmas if it goes, but I think it will. So I'll have time to phase it out, have time for you to get some cracking deals in helping it go too. But what it does mean is more wool. My passion is with wool. It's been there right from the beginning. I love it. I'll still be sewing. Don't worry. I'll be doing that as a hobby. But I just love wool too much. And speaking of wool, though there is one fabric one in the gallery. We've got the gallery coming up now. A huge gallery, because we didn't have one during Tube Dudes, because that was a different show. We've got 2 months worth. And some of you have been cracking out the knits. 2, maybe 3, maybe even 4 knits over the last 2 months. So it's jam-packed full. So Fizz is going to be cracking out the old links there. But what we have done is we've slightly changed it a bit, so there's not too much wordage in the comments. I'll explain that to you after. So sit back, relax for about 4 minutes worth, I think 32 items, somewhere around about that, in this week's, or this month's, or for the last 2 months, gallery. Wow. Told you there were loads. Some stunning work there. And such an inspiration. I know many people talk to me in the shop about how much they love the gallery, because it's just another form of finding new patterns and also appreciating the skills that you have out there. How do you watch the gallery? Do you if you're at home, do you say shut up now? not looking at the chat, we're just watching. James, is Miss Jaffa the cat sat on your lap watching it? Is she enjoying it too? I know many people love it, as I say, and they then go, oh, I want that. I want to knit that. Well, this is what we've done. So as you can see, the comments from Fizz, if there was a link to the pattern when the pattern picture was posted, that's good for peas, isn't it? Then Fizz has got it. But you lot are brilliant when you post on Instagram, or if you DM me, or if you email me, because you give us a wealth of information. Julie, for example, and Jules will, well, many of you, but those two in particular will give an idea of not only what yarn they used, what colour they used, but sometimes will say, oh, and this yarn was wonderfully soft, or this was a great beginner. I think Jules did that with one of hers. This is a great beginner sock pattern. And I know many of you love that, but for Fizz to try and get that into 200 characters in the chat and highlight it all, copying and pasting was difficult. So it's all on the woolpatch.com/gallery. And every month is listed. It just a new month gets put on top of each other. And it's done in order of appearance. So if there is one that you want a bit more information, I guarantee, especially if it's knitting, there'll be more there. Ali, for example, when he was sewing all his fabulous coats, not necessarily because he was making those patterns up. But some of you who do follow patterns, like Julie, Jules, James, for some of his zippers, if you like those zippers, he's given information on who that zipper designer was. But rather than having it in the chat here, you can go to www.thewoolpatch.com/gallery, or click on the link. Or if I get with Fizz, we then put it all down below and the links in the description. There are plenty of places to find it, but phenomenal stuff. And yes, Paddy, my shop landlord, she's a fabulous crocheter. Did you see her virus shawl? She did 2 virus shawls and she joined them together with a slip stitch down the middle to have a wonderful christening blanket. So absolutely fun. Now, let's just go back quickly. We might be 5 minutes over late. I can hear Fizz shouting down my ear. Move on. But let's just go back to some of that Fonty chat. Yes, and I've got some of your messages highlighted here. And here we go. That mohair is epic. It is, isn't it? It is phenomenal. And I think I also saw another one. James, you were saying too, I like knitting lace weight mohair with DK weight yarn to give that knitted fabric a halo effect. Indeed, and you can see that halo effect. It's that fuzzy, and just imagine that knitted in. Well, just imagine knitted in with that Moonbump shawl. You know, you get that halo effect, or on a beanie hat as well. Sue says, what weight is the Fonty tartan? It is double knit. Yeah, 4 to 4.5, which I just thought would be delightful, because you just want sometimes a good double knit, a workhorse double knit. Though I think this is more than a workhorse. This is special. James, what do you say, James? Oh, look, I noticed a W there too. Thank you, James, for being a shop supporter, as well as a visit with Nana and Papa. Keep the Fonty box at the shop. I want to have a squish next time. Okay, James, will do. Yeah, and you can see the tartan, and there's so many others there too. Lewis, I noticed you were commenting too. I like that Fonty is also working with camel. Absolutely. Yeah, it is usually difficult to find in more commercial brands, and it is pure luxe to work with. Is it? Well, like even softer than alpaca, do you think? Or You'll have to let us know. Right, before we finish and move on to the charts, let's go to the poll. Do you like mohair? Woo! 75% said yes. 25% said no. All right, I'll keep with it in my shop. It seems to be a bit of a niche. Only certain people will use them, but it is wonderful. I don't know whether I find it a bit like that, which is why I think I prefer brushed alpaca. So it's kind of fluffy, isn't it? Baby Suri alpaca, and not as harsh. But again, I think it all depends whether you've got the silk in there or the acrylic in there. But there we are. So that's Fonty. Watch this space, a delightful little company coming over the channel to the Woolpatch. And if you know of any other shops that have stock it, let us know. So the charts, yes, the top 10 charts. We're going to show you now what people are looking at on Ravelry right now. The hot right now filter. If you don't know Ravelry, when you go into pattern search, you can click on advanced, and then you've got this drop down box which will show you all different things. It might show you the most liked, the most made, the most recent, and so forth. But the hot right now is literally what people have clicking on. They might have seen an influencer on Instagram, and so suddenly they're all going onto Ravelry clicking it, because sometimes when I've gone to the top 10, there are 2 or even 3 patterns of the same designer, because obviously everyone's clicking on it. So are you ready? We're going into crochet first. We've done a lot of knitting. Here are the top 10 hot right now, what everyone is looking at literally in the last 2 hours of crochet. I must follow my schedule. I must... Just doing my lines, Fizz. I must follow my schedule. I'm just going to go, I. Must. And I've got it right in front of me, too. I'll come back to the winners in a jiffy. We'll carry on. We'll go to the knitting charts. So... we're going to go to the knitting top 10 charts. Now, me and Fizz always laugh about when we compile the top 10 knitting charts, because we like to have a guess of where we think the ranunculus is going to be. Because I think for week 11, week 12, and week 13, it was at number 7. and it went out of the charts for a couple of weeks, and then it came back in like week 10 at number 7 too. It just always seemed to be at number 7. So have a guess where you think the ranunculus is going to be. If it's going to be in there, of course. But if it is, where do you think it's going to be? I don't think you will be surprised. So coming up, here we go. Fizz, ready? Here we go. The top 10 charts of hot right now knitting patterns. schedule says 8:35. Coming up next, announcement of winners. Right, we'll just rewind back there then. And we even have a tech rehearsal. Yep, we put this show together. It's not just some old thing. We even rehearse it. And then the schedule gets tweaked and altered. Oh, I think that's because I was getting a bit carried away with the old Fonty. And you lot with your texts. And me, the good, the bad, the woolly. Did you see anything nice there in the top 10 charts? Crocheters, knitters. See, and this is the other thing, fabric. There's nothing quite like it with fabric. If there was, we would certainly be doing it. It's not because we're missing it out. There's just nothing like that out there. That it is a phenomenal resource, Ravelry. And I know over the past with certain Instagram people, there have been issues with using it. But as far as I'm concerned, it's phenomenal database. And I think I'm using it nearly every day with my customers, whether that's to give them further advice, whether that's to look at substitute yarns. It is phenomenal. Sue, who comes to the shop, she's our Curly Sue, our Thursday knitter natter afternoon, is a guru on it. And there's more stuff that I didn't even know. Forums, chat groups, community. You can find your tribe, that's for sure. So if you don't know it, check it out. Or if you want more information, pop me an email. I'll help you know. Right, let's quickly do the winners then. So Tube Dudes Spring Edition. Did you watch it? Did you enjoy it? A whole day of dudes talking knitting, crochet, fabric, sewing, and linked in with the idea of spring. So from my point of view, spring is when I get the dye pots out. It's when it starts to get warmer and I crack open the woad and set up the vat, wake it up, sort of get all the stuff in there, and make it ready for dyeing blue. And hot news, you wouldn't believe what arrived today. The 2023 collection. Yeah. Courier. And Sue, you might be interested in this, but I not only have this is real. This is like hot off the press. See, I tell you, YouTubers, you who watch the Woolpatch show, you always hear it first. Not only have we got beautiful 2023 collection, which is Wensleydale. I tell you what, when I opened the box, it was like, like hallelujah. The luster of that Wensleydale almost blinded me. And I kid you not, I don't exaggerate there, but Wensleydale is known for its luster. Well, you look at this and it's just phenomenal. But I've also got something extra. Some of the fleece, and this is the hardest part about getting your fleece and sending it off to the mill. Some of it just can't be used because and this is where I need to learn a bit more. It's just not good enough. It may be not long enough, or I think, did he say Wensleydale? Make sure it's not too long. I can't remember, but it just might not be good. It might be dirty and not very, just not fit for spinning. So he said, rather than binning it, he turned them into carded slivers. James, do you know what a carded slither is? Because I thought a slither was like a slither of bacon or something thin. It's like a cloud. You could jump into it. It's phenomenal. So I've now got to work out what I'm going to do with this 3.5 kilograms of carded slither Wensleydale. I presume I'm just going to pick it up and dye it in the vat, or am I going to rip a cloud, a mini cloud off and put it in? James, you're going to have to come to the shop and let me know when, and I'll have the slither there. It's definitely not a slither, as I say, it's like a cloud. But yes, it arrived today. Now, how did I get to the Wensleydale? I have no idea. But yes, so that arrived. So very pleased with that. Now I've gone, oh yes, we're doing the winners, aren't we, Fizz? Oh no, I'm going to be such trouble when we have our evaluation. The winners. So the Tube Dude Indigo, I'd woken up the vat, and that's what I do in spring. And the edition, if you didn't watch it, we were dyeing live, and I was showing to you how it's done. Well, I washed them, and these are the results. So there's the beautiful silk ribbon. Look at that. Wouldn't that be stunning round a bouquet for a a married couple, you know, when they have something old and something blue. This is the linen. Look at that. And this is the wool, the dyed in the wool. This is what they're doing over in Fonty. Literally getting that and putting it in. So we've got this to give away to the 2 prize winners too. Now, the competition was to literally be creative, to write something on the lines of the thing about spring, ... And you could have been creative. You could have written a poem. You could have written a story. You could have written a funny joke. Well, the way we were going to choose the winners was me and Fizz. We got together and we were going to read them. And that's what we said. That's how it was going to be chosen. And we read them all. We had over 40 entries. Thank you very much. If you're watching now and you entered, are you getting nervous because your name might be read out? But we read through them all and we chose 2, and those 2 are... Should have a little drum roll. Are you doing your drum roll on your laps? The winners are... the winners are... I'm pushing my button. No, let's try that. Oh, it's because I went out of sync, didn't I, with the schedule? So I'm on a different slide. Try it again. The winners are there. The sewing and quilting winner, who is winning £10 or $10 of a pattern, is Dawn. Oh, it's gone off again. There we are. Dawn Willoughby, and the knitting and crochet winner is Ruth Hendricks. Are you watching? If you are, you won. If you're in the chat, give us a shout out. I don't think you are, you two, but if you're watching now at home, jump for joy. I will send you an email saying that you've won, and then you can let me know your pattern, and me and Fizz will treat you. If you're on Ravelry, we'll send it to you as a gift. Right, just to finish off, 5 minutes. We might run over time. That's because my terrible schedule following. Are you ready for the coronation? If you're in the UK or if you're in anywhere else in the Commonwealth, are you ready for the coronation? Or you could just want a shortcut on how to do super quick bunting. And it all comes, here's my sample. This super quick bunting is made in seconds from a square. And it's easy to cut squares of fabric, isn't it? If you've got a bolt, you can just cut the width of the fabric again. Or if you've got a 5-inch charm pack or a 10-inch layer cake, you haven't got any cutting to do. You just have to fold once. Oh, it's phenomenal. I've done a tutorial for YouTube. I'm going to show you a snippet of it now. I'm not going to show you it all because there's no point, because you can go and watch it when it's released next week on YouTube. But I thought I would just show you it and talk to you because it's just a very, very quick way. Some of you might already know it. If you don't, it's a super, super quick way of making bunting. This super fast bunting is simply made from squares. I have here 10-inch squares already cut. But you can use any size square. Obviously, the bigger the square, the bigger the bunting. Now, I've cut this from yardage, but you could also use pre-cuts. So here's a classic layer cake, 10-inch square, random design. And you could have a 5-inch square. Some people call these charm packs. Take whatever size square you're using, pretty sides facing, fold to make a pyramid. Then go to the sewing machine and simply sew 1/4 of an inch down one seam only. Don't worry about the other seam. Don't cut your thread. Simply get your next square that you've folded and put the next one through. And literally chain piece these over and over and over for as many flag buntings that you require. And you should have a long line of squares folded in half. Cut your chain piecing threads so your squares are all separate. And you'll soon see how the effect works. With the open, it's like a ice cream cone. It's just literally going to go flat like that. And there you are. You can see your bunting flag appear already. Ultimately, that's what's going to happen in the next stage. So what we have to do now is turn them the right way out. Get a nice blunt knitting needle handy for this and just push through. Do that for all your squares. See what I mean? How amazing is that? So there's your folded in half square, whatever size square that is. As I say, 5-inch, 10-inch, 6, whatever you've got in your stash. And you are doing that sew down one seam, and then it just naturally does that. Obviously, you've got to turn it inside out, which you saw on there. And then you know what to do, I'm sure, with the rest. If you don't, you can go over and watch the YouTube when it gets released tomorrow, because you would then literally tuck that in. So your seam is on the back. Tuck that in, and then your herringbone tape would just be folded over the top. You can see where my sewing line is because I did that for you. Amazing. So super quick bunting if you ever have got to make it. If you want to make it though for the coronation, then we have some coronation fabric in the shop. Look at this, look. Afternoon tea. Isn't that amazing? Good old Union flags. Look at that one. All with gold metallic in. So this is from Lewis and Irene. Wonderful collection. There were loads in the collection, but I think from the Jubilee, I didn't know whether too many people were going to be buying fabric, because they might just be using their bunting they made for the Jubilee. But it's got gold metallic in, those crowns there. And then you've got London. This beautiful one showing London there. Look, everything there about it. You've got the guards, you've got Big Ben, you've got buses, you've got, Westminster. Phenomenal. So we've got 3 of those. So you could buy off the bolt. I could just cut you a 10-inch strip off each one. 10-inch strip gives you 1, 2, 3, 4 squares. So that's going to be 4 flags. 4, 8, 12. Or, yes, I've been busy. You could buy a kit. And I've even put some herringbone tape in there too. So you could buy solid of all the same design. Or I think somewhere I've got a mixed one. This desk now is it's got everything on it. But you could have a mixed one where you have, say, 2 of the red one, 3 of the Union flags, and so forth. So if that's of interest to you, you can go onto the website. Fizz has got the link there, so you can drop it, click on that and go and find it on the website. That's you. Or if not, go to your stash and just cut some width of fabric and then subcut into whatever size square. Just as long as it's square, fold in half, sew down one seam. Boom. Brilliant. We'll be bunting galore. Oh, I've even got some left over from the Jubilee. Look, some Union flags still. And I did a tutorial for that too, for super quick, how to make that with backing. And that's also the beauty of this one. It doesn't need a backing because you're folding it. So you haven't got to then spend and buy another ½ meter of fabric to put together. So I think it's good value for money from that point of view too. But yes, talking about bunting, we're going to finish off 1 minute left. Jubilee bunting is developing nicely, everyone. I know some people have been saying to me, like, how's Jubilee bunting coming on? If you haven't heard, if you didn't see the show, 2 shows ago, I announced that May's live on the 7th of May, on the Sunday, after the coronation on the 6th, is going to be a very special Woolpatch Live, not hosted by me. I'm going to stand aside because Jubilee Bunting will be taking over the buttons and judging by how I've been running the schedule today, she will do a much better job than me. And she did just pop in earlier to say, do you want to show everyone these? Her shoes. She's got some fabulous shoes. One's with a less of a heel. I think that might be wise. Don't want her breaking her neck. So that's coming. It's developing well. The whole team are coming out to help. If you've been watching the Woolpatch for many years, you will remember Anya. We used to sit together in the shop when we first did it because she used to be a YouTuber. She helped me get into it when I said, oh, this looks good, doing a knitting podcast where you talk to everyone about your yarn. I thought I could do that with the shop. So we sat together. She's still around. She still comes in, but she's a busy bee. She works very hard and she's doing yoga here and she's doing climbing there and everything. But she used to do makeup. So Anya's coming out to do makeup. Tig's coming out to give me tips on how to walk. Colin is making the garment. I've been sewing. Where's the... I've been sewing all my blocks together to make the dress. So I've just now got to sew all these strips together to make the dress. But look how good this is. Out of red, white and blue grunge. There. Oh, let's do it the right way round. That would help, wouldn't it? I've got satin blue. I've got satin royal and red. Oh, my word. And Colin is already firing up the sewing machine. So May's live is going to be spectacular. So it's, yes, one not to be missed because it's never going to happen again. Jubilee Bunting is going to go off on tour somewhere or on a nice long holiday. So we would love to see you for May. Thank you for watching this show, April's Woolpatch Live. It's been a pleasure. The chat has been fabulous. It's been lovely hearing your comments all throughout the show. If you're sitting at home watching it, I hope you've enjoyed it. Hope it's been of some interest and the content is good for you. If you do like it, then consider subscribing, clicking like, and maybe even going a step forward. You might want to join the channel. I've done a special little video on YouTube. If you see that join button there, if you thought what it is, well, that actually is a join where you have a membership, a small membership, which goes to the shop. And I know many of you have often said, oh, I wish your shop was near. I'd pop in and buy some wool or I'd buy fabric. And I know you can't, but you want to support local and you want to support bricks and mortar. Well, this could be the way because it's £4.99 a month and it's reoccurring. Just see it like that's a ball of wool. It's quite a reasonable ball of wool, isn't it? It's not an indie dyed yarn, is it? But it all goes into the shop. It all helps to pay bills and the shop to develop and to do more things. And I know I've seen many W's there already. Absolutely love it. I love the community and I love how it's growing. I love your feedback on Instagram too. Really touched when you get in contact and send me a DM. I love doing the show. It is a different type of show. It's not a sit down chat and wander around. We do have a schedule. We do keep to those times. You always know that Guest of the Year is 8:15 and the gallery is 8:30. And producer Fizz is always there in the chat. I don't think we've had any bots so far, have we? Some weird bots that, or people where Fizz has to ban or hide or whatever. But she's always there with the links. It's a very, very good team. We enjoy making the show for you. And we are very, very humbled about you investing that hour to watch, even though we've gone a few more minutes over. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned. I've got numerous videos coming out soon, just one-offs, these little tutorials. We will see you around and about in May. I might not, but Jubilee will, for an amazing coronation show. If you keep making and you do your finished objects, put your hashtag the Woolpatch on, and we will see you in May. Thanks very much, everyone. Have a lovely day, evening or afternoon, wherever you are. Bye.